Welcome to Passionate World Talk Radio. Educate, enlighten, and entertain. I'm Shannon Zeman, and thank you for joining us on the most important 15 minutes of your day, where we share expert information on safety and preparedness that you can use in your everyday life. We've all run away from danger or something scary, or even when we're at play. But in an active shooter event, run is as much mental as it is physical. When you're faced with a shooting, it's a surprise. The threat's unknown. And these issues cause us to have problems most people haven't ever experienced. Have you ever heard of using the mantra run, hide, fight in an active shooter event? Sounds easy, right? Believe me, when you're faced with an active shooter, like my husband and I were, it's the last thing that might run through your mind, unless you have a plan thought out. And that's why in the next few months, Troy and I are going to be here breaking down each component of run, hide, fight to help you assess and make a plan that could help save your life. So today, Troy, my husband, business partner, and my co-author of our book, Active Shooter, joins me to talk about run and to share what to look for when making a plan of escape. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
So, what is the first thing we should do when a shooting occurs?
The first thing you should do is look around you and try to figure out if other people are running and what direction they're running. Mm-hmm. Look for options for cover and concealment, and look to see if perception reaction can help you.
Well, that's a lot of big words, but just so people know, we will break all those down in the next couple months. So now that you've decided to run, what's the next step?
So you want to make a plan. So that the reality is you don't want to run aimlessly. You actually want to assess and then make a plan and then execute that plan.
And I never realized how important that was until when we were at Route 91. And there was only one entrance and exit, and it was in the very back. And most of these people, that was the only thing they knew. And so we were actually watching people run from the front of the stage into the gunfire and hit with bullets. Yeah. And it was, devastating to watch that. And it wasn't their fault. It was just, that was the only thing that they had in their brain that triggered when it happened. So It was just that. And that's why we're talking about, we need to make a plan and we need to assess and we need to take a moment. So now that we've talked a little bit about that, how do we run correctly?
Well, because we're on your podcast, let's imagine a scenario. So the scenario goes that you're in your office and you hear shooting. Mm-hmm. You get out of your chair, you go to the door. And the first thing you're going to do is look out your door in the hallway, left and right, and you're going to try to assess where that shooting's coming from. And again, just like we talked about earlier, you want to look at people, you want to see if perception reaction is going to help you. And you've identified that the shooter is to your right, so you're going to run to your left. Mm-hmm. So now that you've identified that you know the shooter's on your right side, you're going to look down the hall and you're going to assess, how do I run? So you're going to run down, you're going to look down the hall, you're going to see the hall end. So in the scenario, your hallway ends and makes a left turn. And so when you see that and you assess that, your plan is that you're going to run from your doorway to the left turn, and then you're going to stop. I know that sounds crazy, but you have to assess that plan and execute the plan that you have right then and there. And what that means is that you're going to run down the hall, you're going to get to that left turn, you're going to stop, you're going to assess that moment in your running, and that might just take milliseconds to assess that new area that you're in. And because of that, you're not going to run into danger. So the assessment is going to cause you to be able to run the correct way, make decisions. And unfortunately, some of these shootings that we've seen will have secondary shooters or secondary devices. And we want to be able to get to a place where we know we're safe for a millisecond or 2 seconds and make another assessment and another plan.
And so it could be when he's talking about assessing, like at Route 91, we didn't see the shooter. So you don't necessarily exactly know where the person is, but by using one of, our wonderful gifts of sight and sound. So you might not be able to see them, but you might be able to hear where it's coming from. And that's where we're talking about making your decision of which way you're going to go. And sometimes it's hard to even make that decision. Yeah.
Yeah. So as the example continues, what you're going to do at that moment is you're going to assess, and you're going to look down the hallway at that left turn, and you're going to see like an exit door. Mm-hmm. Now, if it's your office, you might know that this exit door actually goes down some stairwells into the like going to the parking lot, right? Mm-hmm. So if this is your office, you might know that. So your next plan is going to be, I'm going to move from the left turn corner of the hallway, and I'm going to actually run to that doorway. Mm. But again, what you're not going to do is you're not going to want to trap yourself. You want to make that decision. So you're going to open that door and wait and look and actually assess the inside of the stairwell. We don't want another person in there that's going to hurt you. And we don't want you to run through that door and find out that now that you're trapped, and you don't want to get trapped like that. So,
and we understand that stopping when we're saying assess, we understand to stop is scary, right? We have in the back of our head, if I stop, they're going to get closer to me and things like that. We're talking about taking, milliseconds. We're not talking about taking a full minute or anything like that. It is just enough time for you to check in to your brain, to your senses, and know what your next decision is going to be. So we know it's scary, but we're not asking for you to, take minutes out of your time.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, it doesn't take us long to assess a situation in that environment that we're right in. It only takes a few seconds, and then we can make a plan. And we'll just continue this. If you're in the stairwell, you see that, and you know that going down the stairwell is the way to the parking lot. So you've assessed, nobody's in there that's danger, and you're going to run to the door which exits to the parking lot. Now you go down the stairs, and at the bottom of the stairs, you're going to open that exit door, but you're not going to run out of it. And I know that's scary. We had to do it in Route 91. There was a lot of times where we could have just blazed out of there, and it just wasn't worth it. Mm-hmm. So open that door, look around the parking lot. Again, you're going to assess. Then you're going to make that plan. And your plan is that I'm going to use cover and concealment going into an open venue like a parking lot. Mm-hmm. So use that cover and concealment, make that run from the door to your cover or concealment, and then you're going to assess again, and you're going to plan again. It's all about assessing and planning and executing.
Right. One of the times when we actually ran out of the venue, which was about 9 minutes into our shooting, it was almost to the end. And when we started running into the parking lot, there wasn't a lot of concealment, or there wasn't a lot for us to hide behind. And I remember hearing Troy saying, "Get behind the palm trees." And I was like, what the heck? Like, I'm skittier than the palm tree. But we did, because, we didn't know what to do. So we did that. And later on, we found out that actually protects you from bullets. Like, they can't penetrate through the palm tree. So even if it seems like this isn't going to work, it's still some kind of concealment that you can use to give yourself that second to think and process.
Right. And that's what you need. You need that second. So like in the parking lot, just like Shannon was explaining, you're going to get to a car or a tree. You're going to plan on, okay, now I see it's clear. I'm ready to go. My plan is to get as far away as possible. So you're going to run as far away from possible. Probably what we usually suggest is you just keep running until you can't hear the gunshots anymore or people screaming, and that's pretty far, and you're out of the danger zone. Now, when you're out of the danger zone, kind of hide a little bit, take some cover and concealment, but now is the time to call for emergency response, whether it's police, whether it's fire. Call then, and understand that lines are going to be tied up probably because everybody's calling. Mm-hmm. But also in this moment, just like what Shannon did in this moment when we got to that moment in Route 91, was she was able to console people and help them emotionally and support them. And then I was able to utilize stop the bleed methods and check on people's welfare if they needed anything that I could help with medical. So you're far enough away, you can assess the people around you also for those kind of things.
Yeah. So remember that the best way to run in an active shooter event is to assess, plan, and then run, and then do it again, and then do it again. Execute each plan so that you can improvise and change your plan accordingly, right? There's so many times that we think of, okay, I'm going to go here, or we don't think and we go there, and then something changes. And so now our mind has to change that thought, and that's okay. And again, it's a scary thing. And just take that second, take a breath, look around you, assess what's going on, and you can change your plan. It's okay. So it's not easy. Like I'm sure any of you would know it's not, right? But everybody is capable of this method of run, as long as you practice it before the event happens. And we talk about this as when you're going into a grocery store, you're going to look around. No, not just the one entrance you came in, but there's exits and entrances from the back. They have emergency ones. Know that. Like when we went to a venue, we used to always make fun of Troy because he'd walk around and see all the exits and, find out where all the emergency things were. Well, we don't make fun of him anymore. And then even what about when you're going into your business or exiting your business?
Yeah, you want to take different routes home when you're driving or walking or running, different routes in and out of buildings. If there's multiple doors that you can access when you go into your office, then you want to leave at a different door that you entered on every time. And that just gives you an understanding of how the layout of your building is, so that when you do make a run, you would know that at that left turn, you're going to turn left and there's going to be a stairwell door. If you've never used that stairwell door, you would look out of your door and think, I can only go right. And that's where the shooter is. There's no way exit on the left side. So we want to make sure we know the layout of our building so we can make a proper decision.
That's a great tool, because I know even driving home that, you get used to the one way that you go. And if there's an accident or the freeways are shut down, it's really confusing and you've got to try and figure out and think about where to go. Or, you put it on Waze or Google Maps and they tell you. But in these moments, you don't have that. So the more avenues, the more tools that you have in your brain, you're not going to have to take as long to think about what you're going to do. So the most important thing about this today is you're going to make sure you practice this in your daily life. So you're going to just run through it once in a while, assess, plan, and then where would you run? That's all we're asking for. So check that out. Try it in your daily life. And you can even email us and let us know how it's going or if any questions that you have. So next week, Linda Stanley, a retired Air Force officer and trauma nurse, is going to join us to talk about how traumatic events change people's life and how it causes PTSD. So I think that one's going to be really interesting. Troy and I both have experienced PTSD, so I think it'll be very educational.
Yeah.
So it'll be really enlightening. So again, thank you so much for listening to Passionate World Talk Radio. You've been listening to the most important 15 minutes of your day with me, Shannon Zeman, and my husband, Troy. And you can listen to this podcast wherever you find your podcasts. And remember, with knowledge, you have the power